It's F1, Jim, but not as we know it.
Coming up on this episode of Stay on Track. We used to burn rubber, now we're burning rubbish.
You make a mistake and it could be a very, very powerful loss of performance or even a race win.
I have my concerns about some drivers being able to cope with all of this.
And I was sort of going, are you? Are you Australia? Or are you just doing your bit of sandbagging?
They have to sit on the grid for like 10 seconds, revving the nuts off the car to get the turbo to wind up. I still don't understand lift and coast.
Lift and coast.
Lewis is like a greyhound, though, isn't he? You show him a rabbit, he'll be off. If there's no rabbit, then he doesn't know which way to go. Yeah, well, welcome. That's not it.
Great start.
That's not it.
Is that it? Is that how we're going to start this one off?
Welcome.
Yes. To
Stay on Track.
You got it. We are back again for another episode.
Week to go, Johnny. Some actual racing is going to happen.
Yeah, I know it is.
And you're going to explain everything.
No, I'm not, because I know you've been studying all this stuff. You've been going beyond what I was going to go.
I wasn't bottom at maths in school for no reason.
No. I'm very equal to that one as well. Right, new cars, seen them on track, seen them at testing. What do you think?
Well, I think they're good. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm very positive.
Are you?
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the most, well, it's complicated.
It's multi-complicated, absolute, yes.
And so nobody really knows what's going to happen when the lights go out in Melbourne.
No.
I mean, it's so many people making conjectures, some drivers saying, this is not what we want. This is some drivers, I won't mention their names, are saying, and his good friend Fernando, saying that the chef could do a better job or something like that. Or the chef could drive the car.
Sure.
I don't think they could. Maybe we should put that to the test one day.
Yeah, I think it would actually go very, very wrong.
But what do they
not
mean?
Happen?
What do they when they're criticising it? What do they mean?
I suppose what it is, with everything that's happened with the electrification side of it, I think it's when they're going through certain corners and having to literally ease off to make the regen come in to charge the batteries. And to me, I'm sure you're the same, going through a fast corner actually was where you got the buzz. But if you're taking that away, because we're now sort of doing recharge, I think that is where Max is alluding to, is losing what he thought racing, but Formula One more importantly, was all about.
And this is all because these new regulations have been brought in.
Yeah.
And I've got a question, which is why did they bring in these new regulations the way they are? So that half the power, or 350 kilowatts, versus 400 for the ICE, the internal combustion engine part. So the power unit, everybody get this right in your head.
Yeah.
There's a thing called the power unit, which combines an electric motor and a petrol driven internal combustion engine, and they both work together. Now they've increased the size of the electric motor part of it.
Yes.
By increasing the size of the battery and the amount of the energy they can put through that. So that it matches virtually the internal combustion engine
50/50.
output. So it's 50-50 roughly, electric motor and petrol motor. Now, when they invented the car back in 1883,
I knew this was going to...
The first car was electric.
Yes, it was indeed.
Yeah, and
then...
Well, and also I found this out. It was a guy called Tom Parker.
Okay.
Not the manager of Elvis Presley, because this is much later on, or much earlier. But he invented the rechargeable battery car.
Wow.
Back then. And that was before the actual Mr. Benz invented the petrol-driven car.
Right, yeah.
So the electric car came first. Anyway, after all these years, we finally got there. Now, where we've got the two have got together and we've got them working together.
Well,
on a Formula One.
I would imagine our battery technology has advanced a long way since the 1800s.
Considerably, yeah. They would let acid batteries. I mean, you'd have to have a truckload of them now, wouldn't you, to
like
get delivered?
float.
Yeah, so it is incredible, the technology. It is going to be confusing.
Yeah.
And I have to take my hat off to all the journalists, especially the ones here at the race, who have done a sterling job of trying to get on top of this, because they've got a learning curve on top of...
We've all got a learning
curve, and the fans are going to... The question is, we don't want to leave the fans behind. We don't want them soaking up the negative story, which is coming out from some drivers that are saying this isn't what Formula One should be.
Right. But it's also coming out from the teams, because it's the teams who are now saying, we've got issues. Now we need to change the way the rules, and it's how the turbo needs to be spun up on the start, for example. But they knew about this a long, long time ago when this whole process came about. I knew about the turbo lag that was going to be part of it. And where do you get turbo lag? On the start. So it was always something they were aware of. But of course, with teams, they're always trying to get an advantage. So when they're trying to get an advantage, they're trying to think, well, if we don't say anything now, we will come out and we will be the better ones. And who was good on the starts? Ferrari.
Yeah, so
the small turbos.
Fred Vasseur was kind of slightly gloating a little bit because he's come out and said, well, when we first decided to get rid of the MGUH, the motor generator unit from the heat, that means the exhaust pipe.
Yeah.
Okay, from the turbo, we no longer want to charge the battery from the energy that comes out of the exhaust pipe, or the corollary of that is that they can actually spin the turbo up using the electricity and the power, the motor in there. Now that is a supercharger in effect, but they've got rid of that. And the reason they got rid of that was because the people they wanted to tempt into the sport, Cadillac and, not necessarily Cadillac, but Audi definitely were saying this is too complicated.
And too expensive.
And it's,
as well.
too expensive. So they got rid of it. And at which point I think Fred Vasseur said, okay, well now we're going to have to go back to normal passive turbo that just works on the exhaust gases coming out. Well, what do we know about turbos? You get lag. Now, they didn't have lag. Now they have lag.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Some took the decision, we're going to go for the monster turbo, the big one.
Yep.
And the others went Ferrari. And who else have done that? We don't know precisely, but about the size
of Ferrari we know.
But mainly Ferrari seems to have gone for a smaller one, which is easier to spin up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was always, I remember, in the 1980s, probably 85, 86, a certain Brazilian driver in the old turbo era when they had massive amount of turbo lag. Do you remember when we drove those turbos for the first time? The Ford, the Cosworth?
I've had to go in I had to go in the Renault and Ram.
Oh, as well, right.
The very first turbo.
Okay.
It was so funny because they were like two-stroke motors, weren't they? Nothing happened for ages. No. And then suddenly all the 1,000 horsepower came.
Yeah. So Ayrton Senna used to be the only one who used to be blipping the throttle as he went through the corner. Why?
Yeah.
To spin up the turbo. And that's what he did there. So what's going to happen now with all this technology that we've got? Max complaining about it, Fernando complaining about it, understand it. It's just going to be another skill they're going to have to learn to adapt to this technology that we've got at the moment to be able to go as fast as they possibly can, still get a thrill from driving it, but actually be able to produce all the energy that they need to when they need to go onto the boost button, when they try to do the overtaking. We've got the same thing with the overtake button as well. And it's how all that is going to have to be sort of a very new learning process for them. It's almost 180 degree different than what they've been used to, which is basically just blasting into the corner, braking as late as they can, hammering on the throttle, going through all the high speed corners flat out. That's going to change. It's got to be a very, very different test for them. So it's a different challenge, actually, at the end.
Is it becoming like a computer game? I mean, the steering wheel, the buttons they're going to have to be pressing all over the place.
Yes.
And the decision they're going to have to make, it's like a game, isn't it? They've turned it into a game.
I think Max is ahead of the pack on that one then, isn't he? He's going to be used to
he's on computer
for that a lot, yeah. So yes, there is, but there's going to be help from the engineers through the radio anyway. So there's going to be a lot of understanding. And I know when I've raced at Le Mans, you always get a booklet the team gives you to understand exactly what is on the steering wheel, how it works, and then you've got to absorb that information and use it when you get in the car anyway.
Simply just looking at the cars. So we've sat and we watched, we've got a chance to, it was well covered. So you could watch Bahrain, the testing, and you could see the cars making mistakes and also getting good laps in and so forth. And I thought they looked good. I know they sounded a bit crisper, a bit more crackly.
Yeah.
And they were nimble. You could sense that they were they're lighter by 30 kilos.
Yeah.
Unless you're Williams, in which case we won't go into that. But anyway, so there's some of them are trying to get down to the weight limit still, but others mostly 30 kilos lighter and then smaller. only a little bit, but
Narrower-
it's perceptible.
narrower.
Yeah, and they look. They
Yeah.
look. No, I think they.
Yes,
look,
they do. Yeah.
And the way they were moving around on track, I thought was good. It seemed to me that they were able to get a bit more yaw on the car.
Well, I saw Esteban Ocon. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes, I saw.
shot. Fantastic.
Yeah, the power
massive
slide.
amount of power
Yeah.
slide and laying rubber and everything else. Probably not exactly what you need to do for speed, but it
But
looks good.
it's great. 'Cause
It looked
it's great for entertainment.
Indeed.
But they've got all this torque, haven't they? Because it's incredible battery. Suddenly you get this dose of massive amounts of energy that has been stored up in this battery, which they can just dump
Yes.
coming out of corners.
Sure.
So the cars get up to their cruising speed
Mm-hmm.
very, very quickly, much quicker than last year's car. So I think that's going to be...
Yeah. But they have a torque control mechanism in there anyway to try and control that torque so they don't get over wheel spin. So I suppose it's a form of traction control. But the only way I can explain the technology that's there at the moment. So you've got the MGU. You've also then got the inverter. So your MGU is your legs. Okay. The inverter is your brain. That computerized little process that feeds how the battery is charged. It feeds everything from that torque control and everything else. That is going to be the key to getting the best performance out of the car. So the electronics and software is going to be the thing that is going to give you the big advantage. So it's not just purely the motor itself, because it does need that brain to be able to tell it what to do. And it's got to be friendly for the driver to be able to get the maximize it as well.
So you actually work in Formula E, don't you?
Yeah, with loader cars, yes.
And so you've been looking at how these pure electric cars operate.
Yes.
But they can recharge their battery under braking. That's the only place. They don't have an internal combustion engine which is acting as a generator.
Sure.
In effect.
Yeah.
Partly. But they don't have that. So they have the only way they've got a charge that they start with.
Yeah.
And then it gets less and less and less as they go through the rest.
Well, they still recharge, yes.
But they can recharge on the
but
brake.
they've got four-wheel drive.
That's it. So they can recharge from the front
recharge
brakes.
from the front. As in when we had kinetic on the brakes, and that was generally through the front. That isn't what we've got now with Formula One. It's only on the back. So it's actually going to make the cars, which I think initially why we saw a lot of cars having sort of braking issues, because when you're having the motor doing the regeneration, it is doing your braking. So you're not really touching the brake pedal, because the brake pedal is taking away that regen that you need from the motor. So that's where that's that change that Max.
So you want in an electric car, you want to use the regenerative part, not the brakes, because otherwise you
take away.
Yeah,
you take it away. And I know, and people probably have their electric cars, and I know when I've driven a couple of those, it's actually quite fun on the road where you put it into this high regen, and you don't actually have to brake.
You don't brake.
You don't brake at all. Yeah.
So I drive.
So that's exactly what these drivers are going to have to adapt themselves to.
I drive a full electric car on the road, and
I don't.
I
don't.
You don't. So do you have a hybrid?
No, I don't.
You don't. You want just to go. But Formula One, to maintain its performance, honestly, because the only way you can get the performance that they get out of Formula One cars for 200 mile race is to have a petrol engine in there somewhere. But they've got different fuel now, and this is all part of the drive for reducing carbon output into the atmosphere, carbon dioxide, and also efficiency as well. So they're superbly efficient.
Very.
So that's working, but they've also got different fuels now, haven't they?
Yeah.
We used to say we used to burn rubber. Now we're burning rubbish.
Yes.
Some of the fuel is actually made out of
From
rubbish,
waste.
isn't it? It's from waste. So it's got to be 100% sustainable, renewable from non-fossil fuel.
Yeah, and it's funny because that sort of almost has got lost in all this electrification sort of situation that we've got. The biofuel has sort of got lost. And I thought that was actually, to me, the most exciting part of where the combustion engine will have a life for a long, long time ahead. And it's really down to that technology of biofuels that is driving that.
The objective was, how do we get vehicles that can perform and not be profligate with fossil fuels? This is what it's all about,
yes,
right?
And I get that.
So, and it's incredible what they can do. I mean, the technology that is vast expense and hours and hours of design work and so forth. But this is the power unit thing is the astonishing thing. But they've got some other devices they've thrown in, which are the DRS is gone, ladies and gentlemen. So the aerodynamic side of
which a lot of people didn't like. Yeah.
The Venturi ground effect cars, they were a disaster.
Yeah.
So now they've gone back to kind of flat bottom type of thing. But the aero, the way they changed the aero on the cars is completely different. So they can drop, partly because they can't drag these wings through the air and not use up all the power they've got in the battery. So they've decided to make the cars slipperier by front and rear adjustable wings. So there's no DRS, but on the straight they'll drop drag and also downforce, but it will make the cars very slippery.
Yeah, and it looks cool actually.
And it does look.
It looks really cool the way they've done it. So the Ferrari one was an interesting one, wasn't it? Where it did its sort of 360 flip.
Well, this has been an area of massive innovation, and lots of teams, but they've been given a set of regulations, and they could have done it in different ways, and all the teams have done it. It seems to me in a different way to the others. Yeah. So the flippy wing at the back, the trailing edge wing, some of them actually rotate from the back of the wing, and others rotate from the front of the wing, and some of them rotate from the middle, which is what the Ferrari people have done. Yeah.
And it's normally, again, there's a rule about the gap, and it's normally, I think, the leading edge, and that's the measurement. But when you look at the Ferrari, that leading edge looked to be much bigger than everybody else's. They actually have a huge gap on it, but there are rules to how big that gap is as well.
So they freaked everyone out, didn't they? Because they spun it around 180 degrees, and it actually was facing upside down. Yeah. And we don't know whether they're going to race with that, or whether they were just finding out what would happen if they did do that.
Sure, yes. Well, the biggest thing with that, I would have thought, the biggest problem with that is the reattachment of the aero to that wing, if the thing is sort of moving around through the air like it is. So it's going to be fascinating to see if they do use that. And I love things like that. I think it's so cool when Formula One comes up with these crazy ideas, but they look good. The ingenuity of it and the thought process that go into it, I think, make it so exciting. I remember the DAS with Mercedes, the F-duct, loved all that, and then it all gets banned. You think, well, that's what F1's good about. He's coming up with these unbelievable sort of ideas, and it's something that, hopefully that will be. I think that will change the engineers' ideas on how they're going to get their flap to work.
I definitely think those little tweaks are an attraction. I think people come to Formula One to see the technology. Yes. They come to see the ingenuity. They come to see the high end performance engineering which they come up with, and the cleverness and so forth is part of the appeal of Formula One. Yes. The only problem is, and what we've got to try and help here, Johnny, is we've got to help people not get left behind when it comes to the technology. What are we going to get with this year's racing, the 26 regulations? And the truth is, we don't know. So Melbourne, we're going to have to get up at 4 a.m. to watch it live. Yes. But I think this is going to be the most interesting start to season for a very long time, because nobody knows. We watched the testing. We saw some teams are clearly in a better place than others. Mm-hmm. But as far as putting them on the same track at the same time and seeing a race unfold, that's a mixture of the two words, unvolve. As far as seeing that happen, we have no idea what to expect.
No, we don't. What I love about what we saw in Barcelona, or we didn't actually see it in Barcelona, but what we heard about what was going on in Barcelona, and of course then those Bahrain tests, and then going to Melbourne, is it's much easier in Barcelona and Bahrain to actually get the energy into the battery because of the characteristics of the track. And Melbourne is going to be quite a test.
Well, pretend I know nothing.
Yes, okay.
Well, you need
to generate that energy. You realistically need. Oh no, I'm going to get one.
Oh, you just I know.
Yeah. Let me carry on now. As you crack through your biscuit.
I'm not trying to put you.
These Tam Tams, I think, aren't they? Tim Tams, whatever.
Other Australian biscuits.
That's the ones. Yeah,
available.
Yeah. From a perspective of how do you get that energy? Well, braking is obviously one place where you can really generate a lot of energy. We know about the going down the straight, lift and coast, which is lifting off early, but then that's how it regens as well. So in Bahrain, there's actually quite a few places where you can brake quite hard. In Melbourne, there's not many hard braking places at all. So it's going to be
free flowing, isn't it?
Very free flowing. And with these modern cars, especially.
So the
speed they go through. You remember going through turn 1? in Australia, in Melbourne. You know, it was a bit of a break, and then it was a bit of a faff to get through it. Where now, they literally just sort of drop a gear and they're straight on the throttle.
Turn 3 and turn whatever that one is the end of the back straight.
Three for sure.
And that's about it.
That's about it, exactly.
As far as being on the brakes for any length of time.
Any longer time, yeah, exactly.
To generate electrical charge. So this is right, guys, get this through your head. There are certain circuits where there's not enough braking to charge the battery. Yeah. Okay, this is what this season's going to be all about.
So this is going to be the lift and coast effect that's probably going to be more powerful in Melbourne.
So some circuits, they're going to reduce the amount of deployment per lap
as well
to try and help with this, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that they don't get people literally having to go down the start and finish straight charging their battery up.
But that's where that skill set that we were talking about is really going to come into.
And that's down to the driver or the engineers or the computers?
It's a bit of both, isn't it? It's a bit of both. It's the computer, yes, but of course the driver's got to be able to do it in the right place at the right time to generate as much as he possibly can. So they're all going to be working very, very hard with the engineers to make sure that they do it in the right places. It would be down to Brid actually in the right places at the same time. So
I think the kind of Verstappen sort of, it's anti-racing, it's Formula E on steroids. And Alonso saying the chef could drive it.
Yeah.
In those parts of the circuit, maybe they could, but not the rest of it.
No.
And also,
as a whole.
So they've got a job to do, these drivers.
Yes.
And it's going to be juggling the resources they have in a clever way, perhaps with the help of the engineer saying, do it now, don't do it now, over the radio. But they're going to have to think very quickly because they could be in the slipstream of a car.
Yes. And then
up front. And then the car starts to slow down. But they got the lights come on.
Yes.
Like brake lights.
Yeah.
Effectively. But they'll be flashing.
Yeah.
And to warn the driver behind that the car is not going to keep accelerating at a certain, at the same acceleration rate.
Yeah.
And sort of watch out. Don't go.
And that would be the multiple lights flashing.
Yeah.
That's when
so these
they're
things,
into regen.
I mean, there's a lot tactically yet. I don't think although they've driven a lot of laps, and Mercedes did more laps than anyone in Bahrain, but they haven't. And you saw some of them doing kind of simulated racing. They were following cars to see what would happen.
Sure.
But, we're still in the dark as to what's going to happen at race. What that was raised. You were going to say something.
No. Well,
I'm worried I interrupted.
Sorry, Damon. I was trying to get a word in edgeways. It's very difficult with you. But the important thing as well, from a driver, you know this from a driver's perspective, the ones who have the biggest capacity to absorb everything that's happening on the track, everything that's happening when they're racing, and then take on board everything that they need to do to make sure they don't make a mistake. You make a mistake and it could be a very, very powerful loss of performance or even a race win, for example. So I think the drivers that have got the biggest capacity are probably in a very, very strong position. Someone like Max, someone like Fernando, someone like Lewis, I think they have that ability to sort of take on that extra mental approach to absorbing all the information that's been thrown at them.
It's the spare mental capacity, isn't it? So it's the Michael that they used to say that Schumacher was very good at that. He had so much automatic. His driving was so automatic he didn't have to think about it, and he had time to do other calculations. I mean, Fernando, as we know, is able to think tactically during a race, and he doesn't have to think about driving. Sure. Max is pretty much the same.
Yeah, and I think it's getting rid of information that's a waste of time having, so just free up the space at the same time. Sometimes people hang on to things that have happened in the past that actually aren't going to be very, very useful. It's best to just get rid of those, start afresh, and then you have that better capacity to absorb everything that's been thrown at you.
Yeah. I have my concerns about some drivers being able to cope with all of this.
Yeah, actually, good question. Would you have liked to have been on the grid in Melbourne with these cars?
I think I'm slightly cunning.
You're very cunning. He's nicknamed, by the way. When we came through the younger formulas, he had a nickname, Secret Squirrel.
Because you don't tell anyone anything.
There you go.
Right? That could be of use to them. But I think this is kind of interesting. I find this formula interesting if it's going to be about wise use of resources. It gives another approach. It's another tactic you can employ to gain an advantage. And I think that was always something that I think was part of Formula One's. It was interesting. Even if you talk about like Jackie Stewart's very light on the car, and he managed to get the thing to the end because he didn't wear out things as much as another driver. And whereas some drivers are hard, and you think, well, they might be super quick, but they're breaking the car all the time, and if they keep doing it, that's not very smart.
No.
Then we like the smart drivers. I mean, and the Niki Lauders who would save and the turbo eras when they didn't. There was a lot of drivers went, oh yeah, I've got loads of boost, I can just and then they get to the end of the race and they're not going to make it because they're going to run out of fuel. Well, more fuel them.
Yes.
And then Nicky would just go, oh, I've got plenty left. Here, watch this.
And that's part of the skill that's going to be very, very important this year. That type of mentality of using only what you need to do. And Jackie Stewart always used to say, I won my races in the slowest possible way.
And I think we'll be talking about that a lot during this season, that who has been able to figure this out and drives smarter than the others. It's going to be a formula pretty much of that. But there are some other issues which they're worried about safety on the start. Andrea Stella mentioned this, but this is where the start is also where that turbo we talked about is going to become an issue because they don't have the electric motor running the turbo, they have to sit on the grid for like 10 seconds revving the nuts off the car to get the turbo to wind up so that they've got enough torque off the line. Otherwise, see, a 1600 engine will produce so much horsepower. If the turbo's not working, it produces a whole lot less.
Indeed.
So, without the turbo can increase the horsepower of that engine considerably. I'm not sure what the numbers are, and I promised myself I wouldn't get into too many numbers. But let's say it's it's a big improvement on a normally aspirated 1600 engine. And so you need that off the line. After 50k, they're able to use the battery. So the battery's not deployable until after 50k. I understand it. So they got the 2-stage start thing, and you saw some of them doing the practice starts where they got up to 50k, and then suddenly the battery thing would kick in. And they'd get wheel spin.
Out. Sure.
And
that's where they're very, very aware that could be dangerous if there was a massive differential in speed. Of course, where someone is going to have that issue, and then someone behind who's flat out and got absolutely the perfect traction is going to come into effect. And it's the same when they go lift and coast. If somebody's on the boost and there's a lift and coast happening at the same time,
I still don't understand lift and coast.
You don't, eh?
I mean, why they
lift and coast? And that
so you lift it off.
You a load of energy.
So wait a minute, you're not braking.
Like your electric car, like your electric car on the road where you don't use the brake.
So they come off the throttle. That's the lift, and the coasting is nothing's happening for a bit.
No,
while I just slow down
and charge.
Oh, they're actually charging when they
charge. So it's using all the different ways of regenning it, and that goes down to the max thing at the slow corners. They're still going to be doing it at slow corners, revving the engine off, revving the engine up very, very highly, and then doing the part throttle, which is going to be them recharging it in the slow corners at the same time.
You lost me. This is my problem.
This is the thing.
I don't want. I mean, I think what people want to know is, when they turn on, will they see people racing? Will they see people? I mean,
yes.
A lot of the time we saw in the last set of regulations, a lot of it was the talkers of tyres because they couldn't push as hard as they want to, so they'd have to go to a set speed. So I was never sure quite how to interpret how hard they were pushing, whether they were just going to a set limit that was imposed by the tyre they were on. I mean, I think I could pretty much work it out when they were on the limit or not. But the point is, people want to know when the lights go out and off they go. They're going as fast as they can, or are they just sitting there going, "I'm going to lift and coast," and have a nice afternoon off.
A cup of tea and everything.
That's not going to happen. I'm telling you now. That's not going to happen. It's going to be a race. It's just going to be. There's bits in the race that are going to be. We're going to be standing there going, well, what are they doing right now? Are they super clipping or are they lift and coasting?
Yeah.
I I don't fully understand that yet, but I will promise you, ladies and gentlemen, I will get there and I'll try and help you guys understand it. If you understand it better than me already, then please tell me. So are you a fan? Are you optimistic, pessimistic? Because I've heard you talk about this and you're saying this isn't what it's supposed to be because of the accusation, if you like, that the drivers are going to have to spend time collecting electricity. Well, as they go round, that's their job, is to charge the battery up.
Yeah. Well, when we were doing Formula 3, and we had 150 horsepower, something like that. I probably had about 180 horsepower, but I think you only had about 150. Yeah, I thought you did. And then I did my very first test of Benetton in 1987 at Brands Hatch. So I went from 150 horsepower thinking this should be the most brutal, hardest, fastest thing that I've ever driven in my life. And I went out the pits and I went through paddock and I went down the hill as we go up towards Druids and I went, right, let's see what this thing's got. So I remember flooring it. Nothing happened.
No.
Nothing happened at all. Then there was sort of a whoosh and a whistle as the turbo started to spin up. And then it fired itself at 1,100 horsepower up the hill towards Druids. And I had a massive smile on my face, ear to ear. And then as I drove it, it was brutal under acceleration. It was brutal under braking, and it was so damn fast. And that was what I always expected it to be, that you pushed your limits every single inch.
It was a full-on experience.
Full-on experience.
You gave it the maximum, and you got the maximum.
And I got the maximum from it.
And the whole idea was
thrill from that. So that's where I then go, well, if we're sort of changing the technology to be more green, it's a positive at the same time. As I said, there is a different skill set that's needed. But when I was coming through the Formula 3, Formula 3000, the place where it was the new technology was always developed was at Le Mans. Le Mans was always a place where that was always known, where you would go and develop some new Carlos Fandango ideas for the future. And Formula 1 was this pure, raw, fast, pushing your limits to the very edge. And I think that's what Max is sort of alluding to.
He wants the kind of no holes barred, hang the expense, hang the CO2, and stuff. Let's just go racing with the fastest cars. Now, I want to say that we did have that at one time, where they had refueling, and we had no limit on performance. You could stop after 22 laps and change your tyres and get refueled. And we found that was terrible for racing, because what happened is they qualify at a pace and then they race at pretty much the same as qualifying pace. And so they all finish in the same order. Yeah, because there's no variance during the race.
And sometimes the overtaking of that short pit stop, maybe towards the end of the race. I think Michael did it in Hungary. I think one time he did about 3 or 4 pit stops, did a really short splash and dash towards the end, won the race, but the overtake was done in the pits. So it wasn't actually on the circuit either.
Can we just say, in the past, before these 26 regulations, a lot of overtaking was done in the pits and also under DRS.
Yeah, as well. Sure. Yes.
Under duress. Under DRS.
Sure.
So that's gone. But now we've got these flappy wings.
Yeah.
Still a kind of overtake device, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still an overtake. Yes, absolutely.
And there were times when they didn't have all that. You know, I'm thinking about the Mansell era, the mid-80s.
No, there was none of that.
And it was just you overtook you got a draft. You got in the draft of the car behind, the car in front, and you were just quicker off the corner or something, and you could get closer during the corner. And then you had to time it perfectly and get him under braking going into the corner at the end.
Exactly. I always remember like the 60s in your dad's era, and then going to the 70s where you had the stick shift. And everyone said, it was much better. There was much more overtaking in the 60s and the 70s. And most of that was because the human made a mistake and missed the shift, and the overtake was done just purely because of the shift.
So you could blow up the engine.
You could blow up the engine.
You could ruin the gearbox.
You could do a lot of stuff.
So the driver control input is significant, and that's what. So I think there is an element of that in this formula.
Yeah.
So there's a workload, and there's a bonus to the drivers who understand the technology and the strategy of these cars.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think that's a good thing. Because then
I think it's a good thing.
you'll find out who the drivers are who are worthy of being able to work it all out and also drive fast.
No, that I agree. Yes, they will find a way of doing it, which we always have done, even if the tyre was degrading heavily. Certain drivers, Alain Prost, the professor, was always very good at feeling what he needed to do with those tyres to make them last, so he could have a real push towards the end of the race, and that's why he won his multiple world championships. So that skill set is still going to be a very important factor.
I come back to the question about why are these regulations here? They're first of all, they're a technical challenge for the teams.
Yeah, massive.
And this is they love that. I mean, they love a technical challenge.
Do.
Yeah, and that's where they can show their genius.
Yeah.
So it is, and it's part of the attraction of the sport. So we've got that ingredient, and we're seeing innovation and a variety of different innovative solutions, which has been interesting for us. And then we've got the challenge for the drivers. We've got that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cars are still very quick. And
yeah, because the lap times weren't slow.
And then there's
either.
The entertainment thing. I just don't think that we're not. I think we're going to be entertained.
No, that's the thing. Yes, that I agree. I think entertainment is a big part of what modern day Formula One is all about. And I think this will produce a lot of that, because I think there are so many factors that are going to come into effect from the start to lap one all the way through the race to the end of the race as well, because it's the one who thinks outside the box who potentially is going to sort of gain that advantage, and then everyone else is going to be able to learn maybe from seeing something else that another driver or team does, and then that will only make it interesting, I think, from the championship point of view.
But if we look at just from the carbon footprint point of view, and cars being non-polluting or whatever. Well, we don't use fossil fuels anymore. We're going to be using these biofuels.
Oh, the biofuel, sure.
So why can't we just run
a V8,
V10 engine, normally aspirated or turbocharged, and no battery?
I'm a bit like you. I would say if we've got the biofuel, and the biofuel seems to be able to do the job that we need. And a V8 and a really noisy sound coming back would be a positive thing. We'll see where that leads.
But the thing is, these are very, very efficient. And I think ultimately that's got to be a consideration.
But a combustion engine has changed. With the combustion engines we had, the V8s and the V10s we had in the 90s, they're so much more efficient nowadays, what we have. So we always learn. Well, you do remember the old diesel and petrol cars where they only did about 20 miles to the gallon, and you get a diesel that would do like 50.
Well, the petrol used to go straight through the engine and then straight out the exhaust. Most of it, didn't it?
And then they have found ways of making that work through the injectors, for example. So humans are very good at having a problem and finding a way around that problem. And that's what Formula One is very good at, but it does it at speed. When a car manufacturer designs a car, it takes them like 5 years to develop the thing. But we fix things yesterday. And that's what motorsport, but Formula One especially, is very, very good at. And all the problems that maybe we saw in Bahrain will probably become less of a problem when we get to the first race in Melbourne.
When we made a prediction in quali in Q1, what would be the gap front to back?
Yeah.
And we might have got it wrong.
I think we definitely seem to have got it wrong.
I think it wasn't more than 2 seconds, was it? Looking more like 4.
We might get the top 10, which within that maybe. Well,
there is a limit to how slow you can be, which is the 107% rule. Now,
I don't think anyone's within that. I think we'll be fine with that.
And so
that's Cadillac.
Big round of applause goes to Cadillac because they've come in completely cold.
Yeah,
and they've got a competent car. They've made a very solid foundation for themselves.
Yes.
And they can go to the first race fully expecting to get the thing through. Probably won't get out of Q1. Fair to say.
No, but they're going to have time to sort of settle and develop.
Yeah, they've arrived.
Things better. Yes, exactly. So do we think Ferrari is leading the pack?
I think Ferrari are very interesting. I think they seem to be quite happy where they are.
Mm-hmm. Lewis has been positive, hasn't he? Lewis has been positive with his comments about how comfortable he is within the car. So that's
and I think
thing.
there wasn't any long faces. So I think
Nope.
he's happy with, as far as the driving experience goes, I think he seems to be liking it.
Yeah.
And they're in there. They're in the mix.
No, they're in the mix. The top four. The top
But
four
it's picking the winner from that. And the feeling is, isn't it, that Mercedes have been hiding their light under a bushel.
Well, they've all been pointing fingers at each other to say that
It's not us.
Yes, exactly. We're not the ones that everybody should be
Kind of
looking at.
shedding that
It's
expectation.
typical. Yes, typical. And even even George was sort of saying, "Oh no, it's the Red Bulls. They look way ahead, about half a second to a second quicker than we are." And you go, "Come on, that's not really the case." But going back to Ferrari, did they show too much raw pace? Was that everything they've got?
How many times we've been to Bahrain in pre-season testing and Ferrari have looked
been
good, or Barcelona for that matter?
Yeah, last year, as well.
And this is the slight worry with Ferrari.
Yeah.
Is they kind of get themselves too far ahead too soon. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it was a good performance. They weren't breaking down all the time.
It was a nice gap.
They
as well, difference.
As I said, the drivers looked happy driving the cars.
They
if
did,
that's anything to go by.
But Max, when I was watching, I could see there was some purples came up in the first sector, and then the second sector was not so strong. And then I heard comments, well, yeah, we're having problems in that second sector. Yeah, we're really struggling. And I was sort of going, are you? Are you struggling, or are you just doing your bit of sandbagging?
You have to say, what an amazing thing to have decided to do your own power unit.
I have to say, I agree.
Out of the blue. They're not a car manufacturer. They're not an engine manufacturer. They don't make road cars. They decided, and that was Christian's decision, to go and make their own power unit.
Yeah, Red Bull power unit.
3 years ago, was it? They decided to do that.
It's been
They
very
poached
impressive.
a lot of people from Honda, I think. So
Sure.
I think Honda have lost a lot of talent, and also from Mercedes. I think they poached a lot of good people
and
to come and
as you
work
would.
it. Yeah, as you would. But they've done it. The car. A lot of people are talking about how well the Red Bull power unit deploys.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And gets out of the corners with a massive kind of deployment of this battery. That's I think a genuine difference that they have.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. No, it's been very impressive how they've been able to get this power unit and the whole package actually so reliable as well. You know, it's not as if you can have something that's really good and really quick and just falls apart after about 10 laps. They've been mighty impressive with the mileage that they've done as well. I know Hadjar, I think, had a few more issues than Max did, but they all seem to have certain issues. Mercedes, Ferrari, they all had their little window where it was a little bit difficult to keep the car on the track. But I think fundamentally they all did, all of them. And they always, and as you said at the beginning, going back to Cadillac as well, they've achieved some brilliant stuff with this technology that's been thrown at them. I know they've known it for a couple of years, but of course, when you get it on track, that's when things really do sort of open your eyes to what needs to be.
And
sorted.
they looked like they were going to be a team who was going to suffer death by 1,000 cuts last year, didn't they? I mean, you know, Christian, loads of people leaving, Wheatley, Adrian, and so. And so that actually hasn't happened. That collapse doesn't appear. They look strong. They look solid. They look like they're able to survive that upheaval and reorganize. And so they were looking like they could well be contenders. But I think what we're going to get this season is, I think, from track to track, you're probably going to see bigger differences, bigger swings between performance than we've seen before. So we got Red Bull. Title contenders.
Sure. Under the radar.
Ferrari title contenders?
Yeah, I think they're in it, yeah. But under the radar title contenders, McLaren.
McLaren
was very under the radar, wasn't it? I thought they did some really good runs during those testing in Bahrain. So I think they're going to be probably a bit more of a surprise when we get to Melbourne. I think they're going to be right in it. No, you would,
because they won last time, and they've won the Constructors' Championship 2 years in a row.
But
they got the right momentum, but it's new regulations. They don't have to develop their own power unit. They're getting that from Mercedes.
That helps. Where are they at then, Mercedes?
Where I think they're good.
I think they're very good. I think they will be the car to beat, personally.
Kimi running around the paddock squirting people with water pistols and stuff, and he doesn't seem too worried about things.
No,
and
George sort of playing the game
and kept his mouth shut.
Yeah,
mostly.
Yeah, but he's just playing that game, and I like that side of George where he's sort of saying, yeah, we're not quite as good as we thought we'd be.
I think he's secretly very, very happy.
Yes, confident. Very confident, yes. So it's going to be fascinating to say, because we sort of don't really know, but I think we have an inkling of our experiences of knowing who normally would show what they've got.
Who's hiding more? McLaren hiding more than Mercedes, or Mercedes hiding the most?
I think Mercedes are hiding more than most.
I agree with you.
Yeah, from that point of view.
I think they've been too quiet.
Yeah, they've been yes, very much under the radar. And Ferrari have it always seems that they've shown too much. I know you've always said about when you were driving, you always had a little bit of extra in your pocket when you went into qualifying, for example. And that was something that was very useful and very powerful, because you could just do that extra something when people weren't
from a driving
expecting it.
Yeah, I just think,
from
why do I need to
show something for practice? Yeah, no, exactly.
Surprise them.
Yeah,
at the last minute.
Surprise is something that will probably come to everybody when we get into Melbourne.
So those are 8 drivers, title contenders. Do you think Lewis is as strong if it's Ferrari? What's going to happen to Lewis versus Charles?
Well, the biggest thing has been over the last season for sure. It was Charles who was always able really to pluck the best out of the Ferrari. I know Lewis had that great race and sprint race in China, which he won. Then they had the struggles during the race weekend, both got disqualified because they weren't wearing the floors out. But they never really were in contention at any point. But Charles was always doing a slightly better job. But it was a more uncomfortable Lewis, and he was telling the world how uncomfortable he was with the car, and it wasn't suiting him everything else. That's changed. Right. Now it's changed. Now we're going to have to see, can he beat him?
And also his engineer's moved on, hasn't he?
Yeah, as well, it's changed again. Yeah.
So he's got... There was some suspicion that the relationship wasn't that great.
Yeah.
There was a little breakdown in communication. But anyway, that guy's gone, and Lewis has got...
Yeah, which sometimes is never a problem as long as they have the right mentality and you click and get on. Actually, it can be a very positive thing very, very quickly. So from the vibes he gives, they're very positive.
Happier
vibes.
Lewis.
Much
Could be
happier. Could be a quicker Lewis. But I think Charlie's fired up.
Charles,
well. He's not going to allow him through that door
at
all. And he's been very good, I think, over his time at Ferrari, where he's played a very, very clever game where he's sort of had control of his own
I think Lewis is like a greyhound, though, isn't he? You show him a rabbit, he'll be off. If there's no rabbit, then he doesn't know which way to go.
But it's going to be interesting. That dynamic between the two is going to be interesting on its own, to be honest. So let's hope they'll be in the mix.
Okay, so those, if they're in contention, that's going to be interesting to watch. McLaren. Lando, happy boy, he's world champion.
Sure.
Oscar didn't win the championship.
Nope.
Psychologically, I mean, he's been quite quiet.
Yeah.
And
just getting on with it. Yeah.
There was some story about Mark, his manager, not coming to so many races next year. I don't know what's going on there.
No.
But
I think sometimes you grow as drivers, and sometimes you need that manager there, or you need a father. I remember that with Lewis, with Anthony, but then he sort of grew up and he wanted to have his time where he could sort of do what he needed to do himself. And I think he has matured in that way, but everybody matures in that way. And I think Oscar is in a very similar situation. He needed that support mechanism when he first came into Formula One. And now he feels it's the right time for him to be able to, make his own destiny without having Mark around all the time.
Is it more difficult for him, if they are contenders, to think in terms of beating Lando? Because I think with Lando, when he's confident, I think he's got the edge on Oscar.
Well, I think he's very last year, wasn't it? The consistency.
Yeah,
there was those little dips, but they both had little dips. Yeah. But Lando had a smaller dip than Oscar,
and he didn't get too down about it. Lando, I thought
he bounced back. He was very strong. I thought
that was impressive.
That was impressive. Yeah.
Anyway, so if it's them, I still think Oscar. I think Lando's got the edge over Oscar.
Yeah.
In that package.
Yeah. Well,
I could be wrong.
One of them is going to be more fired up. because he didn't win the championship last year. Now that could be a very influential difference between the
As long
two.
as it doesn't make you angry and bitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you are,
I don't
Johnny.
think so. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, no problem at all. It's unbelievable. But Oscar's not like that. I think that's not the Oscar way. It's not the Australian way, is it?
No. Right, George
Top four.
and Antonelli.
Yes.
Who's going to get the upper hand on that one? If it's them. It's George.
Well, I still think it's George because I think he has the right mentality for it. I think he has the belief, that's for sure. But he's going to have a little look over his shoulder quite frequently, because I think Antonelli's only going to improve as he gets older. He's still a youngster, still a teenager, so he's going to be a threat. The consistency is going to be the key, as it always is, as you know.
I think George was so consistent last year.
Absolutely, and that's where Antonelli didn't.
And if George gets a sniff, he'll want to make this one stick if he get a chance. He's watched his mate Lando get a world championship.
Absolutely.
I think
he'll be hungry to do it.
Now, Red Bull. What do you think, Max or Isaac?
I felt sorry for Isaac. Isaac didn't have the smoothest of tests, and he always seemed to be the one who had more of a problem. They did, and it was great to see, they did give him that chance to get in the car when he had a bit of a bad morning session, for example, but there was still a gap.
It's Max's team, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Max's team, but it's that gap difference between the two that is still there. Yeah. And that's still that sort of little bit of I don't know the whole story. I don't know exactly what they did, of course, with their runs that they did. But if you're wanting to go into start of a season, a new team, you want to be a tenth or two behind, not over half a second.
I don't think Max is under any threat.
Nope.
And if I was to be so presumptuous as to advise a team like Red Bull as to how to treat Isaac, I would be giving him as much support as possible.
And I think
you need a good number two. If he's a number two, you need to build that guy into, don't crush him, psychologically, because that would be a shame, because I think he's incredibly talented, and I think he's got a lot to offer.
And that's why I say they gave him a chance at the test. They did give him those chances when it didn't go very well. So that's really the top. The top four. Any outsiders? Do you think that could be sort of a surprise?
I think it's a pretty much the thinking is amongst the cognoscenti is that there is a bit of a gap between these four teams at the rest.
There does.
And then there's a fight for the middle. Yeah, big strong fight for the middle.
Yeah. Well, it was. I think first to 10th, wasn't it about 2.5 seconds difference
in that
something like that?
Racing Bulls, Haas.
Yeah.
Williams, Alpine.
Yeah. Audi were sort of, they sound good.
I think 4 teams.
It's the best sounding car.
Which one is?
The Audi.
Is it?
So I saw a shot of it sounded brilliant. It was loud.
Can you do an impression?
Really loud, eh? It was very
Tiger.
It was. No, it sounded really good. So that just shows that you actually can make these cars sort of
sound good,
quite a bit louder. So that's really good. But performance, we're going to have to wait and see. Very new. There's a lot of organisational changes that have gone on there. We're going to have to see how that pans out. So they're probably not really going to be in that mid-pack mix start.
No. Okay. Well, I think there's some interesting teams. I think Alpine have been, now they've got rid of the Renault power unit. They've got a Mercedes power unit that might have kind of liberated them a little bit to put more in their resources. I think
it should be a benefit to them.
It should be a benefit. The Audi brave effort to start with. I think they've come in, but it's the power unit that's new, not the team in a way. But I mean, they're building around that. Yeah. I mean, the Williams got off to a bit of a rocky start,
but actually ended quite good cars.
And there's maybe a lot more to come from them because of they know what they've done wrong. They can fix it. They know they get rid of some weight. Yeah. And Haas is a Ferrari customer car, but they're doing really well.
Look good. Yeah, very good, very reliable.
Well, and of course, the how the mighty have fallen Aston Martin issue is.
I'd almost forgotten about them.
I mean, Adrian's gone in there. I remember him saying, someone asked him about their facility with regard to their correlation between the wind tunnel and their computer simulated aerodynamics and such, fluid dynamics and so forth. And he said they've got a lot of work to do there. Yeah. But I tell you what, Honda have got a lot more work to do than that because they've had serious issues with their battery technology. And we were talking about Red Bull powertrains earlier and how they took a lot
Their
of
deployment
staff.
was so strong.
Honda almost starting from scratch again.
Totally, yeah. But you know what? I remember when they came into Formula One, well, in my period anyway, with Spirit. John Wickham had his team. Seven Johansson was one of the drivers, and they came back into Formula One. And they were so poor, so slow. And then it took them time, and then eventually they became the power.
I remember winning a lot with McLaren.
Right, so that's where the power came back. But in the Spirit, it was terrible.
And
terrible
with
engine.
Williams.
Yes, indeed. I do remember
Turbo
that.
Honda.
Yes,
Nigel,
indeed.
and
Yeah.
so forth.
And then they went away again.
They always get there.
Well, yeah. And then they came back with McLaren, struggled, really struggled, did their move to Red Bull, bang, they were back again. And it's so bizarre where they've gone back again. And they're having to sort of start behind the eight ball.
And they'll have the resources to fix this. But it's going to take time. And at the moment, they had such trouble.
Well, they're so
they
far
couldn't even
off.
charge their battery properly and stuff. So to find out whether that chassis is any good. I mean, Adrian's done his bit. Now he can go on his yacht now. Until they get the engine
I know.
fixed.
Yeah, I know. I did text Lawrence when I heard Lance saying how bad it was. I said, "Is it that bad?" And he went, "Yeah." So it was like, because I think we all expected, with Adrian being there as well, and even Fernando. I feel sorry for Fernando because he thought this was going to be his chance.
Think his heart is going to be down.
I think it's definitely. Well, he's almost talking about this is it. I think my chances.
I mean,
gone.
to get any enthusiasm at his age to keep going, and the car, if it's not even going to be anywhere near competitive yet.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of glove throwing going on from what I understand. Yeah, understandably.
Well, if it's only a glove, that's okay. It's like, if it was knives, then you've got to duck.
That may be behind
or
the
hammers.
Scenes. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Good. So I hope that helped people get a handle on where the situation is, and we've got a form book roughly.
Yeah, roughly.
But within there is going to be a lot of battling.
Yeah,
for position.
I think it's going to be fascinating.
Because the next time we talk to each other and to our listeners will be after the race, and we'll have some answers.
There's a lot to chat about after that for sure.
Who's going to win on the spot? Come on,
George. Mercedes.
Okay. Lewis Hamilton. There you go.
Hey! Good on you.
Wishful thinking, perhaps. But anyway, we'll see.